because this is what can happen. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I am the advocate for the reigning, defending, undisputed, Universal Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns!
That clip was 2 years ago, man. I seen that on my Twitter wall this morning. I don't want to give WWE too much credit. But man, oh man. Did Paul Heyman predict Roman Reigns would be a Paul Heyman guy 2 years ago? It's unbelievable, man. I don't want to give WWE credit for thinking that far back and incorporating that into a story now with Roman Reigns turning heel. But the heel turn for Roman Reigns last night, which it very much is, as we will go over today. Roman Reigns is turning heel, and Bray Wyatt is turning into a babyface with Braun Strowman. Who gives a shit? He'll probably end up playing the heel role. Nobody cares about Braun Strowman. He is the third wheel. He's the odd man out. Bray Wyatt is a babyface. How will this work? How will it work? Because I do not see it. I'm going to tell you how it works today on the podcast. What is happening with Roman Reigns? What is WWE's vision for Roman Reigns? What is their plan for Roman Reigns going into Payback, and will he win the WWE Universal Championship? We will go over that today on the podcast as well. I got your Payback card, preview, predictions, why Payback is reportedly a experiment by Vince McMahon and WWE. Retribution. What is Retribution going to do on Sunday? Dominik Dijakovic tweets and deletes in record fashion during SmackDown. Will they be present on Sunday night? I got your Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW ratings, as well as news on Karrion Kross. Guys, thank you so very much for joining me right here on a special live Saturday night edition of episode 341. Motherfucker, we are live right here on YouTube. This is Off the Script.
Delete! This is mine.
Thank you guys so very much for joining me here live. Yes, we are live, folks. For everybody questioning me in the chat, we are 100% live right here on Off the Script. It is Saturday, August 29th, 2020, and this is episode 341 for your payback weekend right here on Off the Script. I wanted to do something a little bit different today because I have just so much news, and I honestly want to relax on Sunday before payback. So what I did and what I decided to do was go live on Saturday night. It was miserable weather all day long in New York City, in New Jersey, up and down the East Coast. I think we were getting some remnants of that hurricane that hit the central part of the United States. But I wanted to do something different, and being that I was stuck home, I said, you know what, let's go live. Let's go live with Off the Script. Let's do Off the Script a little bit differently for this payback weekend. So here we are, and we got a lot of stuff to go over, guys. So I'm not going to waste any of your time here as we begin the show. So I want to thank you guys so very much for joining me here on the podcast. Roman Reigns is the big story. And we're going to go over all of the news coming out of WWE for the Roman Reigns situation. It was an unbelievable turn of events on what I thought was a terrible edition of SmackDown. The rest of the show was absolutely fucking worthless, but Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman got the internet buzzing like I've never seen so far in 2020. This is exactly what WWE needed to do, and I know I shit on WWE more times than I care to count. And rightfully so. They deserve every bit of criticism that comes their way because they have not been doing a good job at all. But I said on Friday live when I recorded my review for SmackDown that you got to give them credit. They took a situation that they did not want to go and do for 5 years. And they said, you know what, we're going to take a chance on this. Now, the reason why they did it, again, we're going to go over that today, mixed with the backstage feeling, what people think about Paul Heyman being back on television with Roman Reigns. How did they pull this off? What happened with the entire situation? Heyman being fired from Monday Night Raw, moving AJ Styles from Monday Night Raw to SmackDown. Now Paul Heyman's over on SmackDown. I got news regarding every little bit of information regarding Roman Reigns, including the Retribution faction. Is Roman going to be revealed with Paul Heyman as the men behind Retribution? It's in the news, and people are talking about it. How does this just play out going into payback? It's going to be a very interesting Sunday night, man. And it's going to be a very newsworthy pay-per-view, even though the pay-per-view itself has been built around nothing but Roman Reigns, Sasha Banks, and Bayley for their situation going on into that tag team title match against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. So we got a lot to go over. You guys can sound off in the comments. You guys can sound off in the live stream chat right here. And I thank you guys so very much for joining me. All I ask of you here this afternoon is to hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys want to show some support, all you need to do is hit that thumbs up, man. Let's try for 1,000 thumbs up for this live stream here today. I really appreciate you guys being here. I've been loving the growth of the channel. It has been so great coming out of SummerSlam. We really just took a huge bump upwards after SummerSlam. I'm loving the growth. We are almost there for 119,000 subscribers already, man. If we keep it up by the end of next week, I would say, I would give or take maybe middle of September, we would already be at 119,000 subscribers, man. And we just hit 118. So for this channel and what I do here and any channel in the wrestling community, that's a good statistic, man. So keep it up, and thank you guys so very much. If you're new or old, I'm glad you're spending your Saturday night here with me. Follow me on social media. That is going to be very important because tomorrow night we'll be live tweeting during the show, during payback. That's at JD from NY206. So make sure you guys go and do that. If you want to do the Instagram thing as well, same at JD from NY206 on the IG. If you guys want to support the podcast in other ways, there are several ways to do that. Number one, Patreon. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. If you guys are listening on the audio side of things on iTunes, you guys can leave a 5-star rating, man. That helps me out tremendously. So go and do that and leave some positive feedback over there for everybody on iTunes. you guys can go and get your masks. Mouthmasker.com/OTS now has the black off-the-script masks in stock, so go and get them. If you guys need to wear them, I know you don't like wearing them, but if you need to wear them, go and represent the podcast. You guys can actually go and get your new t-shirts as well. We got those JD's NEGAN t-shirts on sale exclusively at bonfire.com. I just got mine in the mail a couple of days ago. It feels fantastic. It looks great. It fits great, man. The quality of these shirts is unbelievable, man. The best in the IWC. I do not skimp on quality. Go and get your t-shirts today. Still on sale exclusively at bonfire.com. And today's show is sponsored by Harry's. Harry's.com/script. Make sure you guys go and get your value trial set today. Harry's is easily the best shave of my life, and it will be the same thing for you, man. So make sure you guys go and get yourself Harry's razor set exclusively here on Off the Script. That is harrys.com/script, and we'll talk about them and my boys over at Harry's a little bit later. What a show, man. Going to start at the top, and we're going to start with the most important thing right here in the news, and that is Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was the big story coming out of SmackDown on Friday night. Backstage news on WWE's big plans for Roman Reigns. This should come as no surprise to anybody listening to this show, whether you're watching live or listening after the fact when the replay goes up on the channel. The big news coming out of this year's SummerSlam was the return of Roman Reigns. He returned and he tore the house down and got the internet buzzing with what he's going to do next. After Bray Wyatt won the Universal Championship, Reigns made a surprise appearance and he attacked both Wyatt and Braun Strowman. Now, Ringside News. You guys can take Ringside News to be a bullshit site, but they've released some on-the-spot exclusives as of late. Ringside News has learned that Roman Reigns' return was kept top secret. They were told that nobody knew that Roman Reigns was coming back. The finish of the match was just starting to get around minutes prior to the main event match starting. So that's when they decided, you know what? Let's bring Reigns out there. That's when people started to finally get clued in. Holy shit, Roman Reigns is here. What is he going to do? How is this match going to end up? What's going to happen? Who's going to win the championship? Nobody had any idea except Vince McMahon and those who are in Vince McMahon's camp. A member of the creative writing team who was backstage at the time during SummerSlam told Ringside News, and I quote, "I don't know where he was. He was hidden." End quote. It was also said that this has been total top secret. Now, I'm assuming that Roman Reigns, while out, kept in constant communication with Vince McMahon, and at that point, the only person that would have known of when he might be coming back, when he exactly is coming back, how is he feeling, what's his mindset, is Vince McMahon. And quite frankly, that's the only person in the WWE that really matters to Roman Reigns as far as what he's doing and when he's coming back and how he's going to operate when he comes back. That is it. That is it. Nobody else really matters in that situation. So, of course, it was going to be kept top secret. Now, Ringside News previously reported that a source in WWE told them, and I quote, "Roman Reigns has been in touch with Vince McMahon the entire time, like I just mentioned. But if they are doing anything with Roman, it would be a total surprise, and they would have kept it secret." So, to throw everybody off and just kind of really give everybody that shock value, I enjoy it. I love when things like this happen. Clearly, they could have promoted Roman doing something on the show and really get more interest with that. But I honestly feel like it just went off as well as it could with Roman Reigns making the surprise appearance. You can't really make money off something if you don't advertise it. But in this case, WWE was at the bottom of the barrel anyway. SummerSlam really wasn't trending the way it usually does during SummerSlam weekend when we got to SummerSlam Sunday this year. They weren't really trending. There was not really the amount of Google searches, which we'll go over a little bit later. There really wasn't high interest in SummerSlam as far as Google search goes. There wasn't anybody looking up SummerSlam or really finding any interest in SummerSlam. Now, obviously, there are other things going on in the world today that are taking people's interest away from sports in general. But SummerSlam usually is the second biggest show of the entire year for WWE. It is on the scale of WrestleMania in the summer for WWE. There really wasn't as much of an interest this year as compared to previous years. And I find that to be quite surprising because WWE, after it was all said and done, SummerSlam was actually a pretty decent show. Normally, I shit on WWE a lot harder than other people in the community, but I have to give credit where credit is due. It wasn't that bad of a show. The second half of SummerSlam, I thought, absolutely killed it. It was a great show. The first half was a little iffy, but the second half of the show was exactly what I wanted it to be, entertaining. So, Ringside News was reporting that he was in touch with Vince McMahon. It was also said that, and I quote, anyone saying it is going to happen is just saying something out of their ass because even the most top secret document doesn't reflect his return. Again, Vince McMahon is the only one that really matters in this situation. He is the end-all, be-all. He is going to decide and be the factor of when and where Roman Reigns returns. Anybody else is probably a risk and a liability to ruining that surprise, and Vince didn't want anybody knowing. And Vince is the type of guy that really doesn't trust anybody anyway. Just take his attitude when writing these shows week to week. He'll show up, an entire show will be written, he'll rip it up and rewrite the whole fucking thing himself, and they won't have any script until the second hour of Monday Night Raw like we've seen this past week. And that's why the show was so terrible. If he trusted people, then he would leave the show in other people's hands. He doesn't. Vince doesn't trust anybody. So that secret was going to lay on him and him only. And that's it. Now, WrestlingNews.co was told that Reigns' appearance was kept secret from most people in the company. So both of these reports from Ringside News and WrestlingNews.co, they lined up and reported the same thing, including people on the creative team. They exclusively reported that on Saturday, there was new merchandise. The Saturday before SummerSlam, there was new merchandise made in preparation for Reigns' return. Wreck Everyone and Leave. The shirt that he wore on Sunday at SummerSlam went up on WWEshop.com just minutes after Reigns returned at SummerSlam. So what's next? WrestlingNews.co was also told that Vince McMahon wants Reigns to have an edge to him, meaning a little bit more balls to the wall attitude from Roman Reigns. So he wants Reigns to have an edge to him, and what they are doing now with him is what they originally had planned for him after WrestleMania 36 and beyond, but those plans were obviously put on hold when Reigns went home because of COVID-19 concerns. Reigns was supposed to win. Everybody knows this. It is no secret whatsoever. Reigns was supposed to win the Universal Championship from Goldberg at WrestleMania. It was supposed to be just as long as the Braun Strowman match against Goldberg at WrestleMania. It was supposed to be a quick affair, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Spear, done. That's it. Trading spears back and forth, maybe a couple Superman punches in there, one final spear from Roman Reigns, and that was it. You're not going to get anything more out of a shitty 53-year-old Bill Goldberg. Now the plan is for Reigns to take the title from Wyatt. Everybody's wondering, well, Reigns is in this triple threat match, and so is Strowman. Wyatt's the champion. Does this mean that Reigns is going to win the title on night one? Or is it going to be a situation where WWE goes and books Wyatt versus Reigns, takes the title off of Wyatt that way in a one-on-one match, and Wyatt retains, at least having some semblance of a title run, and he pins Braun Strowman at Payback? No. No, it's not going to end up that way. WWE wanted Reigns as the champion then. They could not wait to get into bed with Roman Reigns again. Which makes me wonder why Bray Wyatt even won the fucking championship at SummerSlam anyway. And we'll talk about that in just a second. The word going around backstage is that the title change may happen at Payback. May happen. It will happen. I'm letting you know right now, the probability of Roman Reigns walking out without that Universal Championship is 0. You don't align him with Paul Heyman and have Paul Heyman say, this is not a prediction, this is a spoiler. to Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns has only been back for 7 days. Come on. That would be absolutely the most counterproductive thing that WWE has done all year. It's not clear if the plan is to do Wyatt versus Reigns or anything regarding that moving forward. I'm assuming that's going to be the case because roles will be reversed here, and there's no challenger for Reigns. There's no challenger for Wyatt. That is the Universal Championship situation. And again, I will talk about how they're going to go about this in just a second. Now, Meltzer got involved on the discussion here. During Wrestling Observer Live, Meltzer painted a very likely scenario about how things will play out from here. It appears that WWE is going with their canceled WrestleMania 36 plans prior to determining a Goldberg return was needed for WrestleMania. Their original plans was Wyatt and Reigns at WrestleMania. Now, that has been planned probably since October of last year. So that's the direction that they're going in now. But they didn't want to go right away with the 1 week build. It would have been stupid to do it right away. End quote. It was noted that Braun Strowman is likely to lose in this no-holds-barred triple threat match, meaning that Wyatt will not get pinned. But if that is the case, I ask, why did WWE put the title on Bray Wyatt? They could have easily booked a situation where Roman Reigns caused chaos, like Retribution, and make the match into a no contest at the end of SummerSlam as a result of his actions. Keeping the title on Braun Strowman while you do the same thing that you're doing here with the triple threat match, but instead of Wyatt going into Payback, coming out of SummerSlam, it would be Braun Strowman as the Universal Champion, and then he would get pinned by Roman. Who is the one that you would like to see get pinned more, Wyatt or Strowman? So I don't really understand why Wyatt has to go into a championship match like this on Sunday as champion, and you look at this 7 days as needed. Did he really need a reign as Universal Champion for 7 fucking days? Why couldn't you just keep the title on Braun Strowman if the end result always was going to be Roman Reigns as the Universal Champion? Looking back at it, that decision at SummerSlam, that match was terrible between Wyatt and Strowman. But the end result now looks absolutely mind-numbingly fucking stupid. Because now you're wasting another 7 days of Wyatt's career as Universal Champion only for him to be a transitional champion. He was a transitional champion coming out of Hell in a Cell. And now he's a transitional champion going into Payback. Bray Wyatt is the quintessential transitional champion. That's what he's going to be known for. A fucking failure. Now, that is what Meltzer says. So I refute that. If Braun Strowman was to take the pin, why isn't he taking the pin as champion? Salvaging Bray Wyatt. I don't get it. I would rather Bray not be the Universal Champion and look good. No matter what happens at Payback, if he takes the pin or if he doesn't take the pin, he's losing the championship. So if he loses the championship, he's looking bad. Because he's not champion. Now, plans for heel Roman Reigns following SmackDown. As we all know, if you watched SmackDown, I'm sure if you didn't watch it, you heard about it. Roman Reigns has joined with Paul Heyman. PW Insider is reporting that following last night's SmackDown, the current plan is for WWE to position Roman Reigns as SmackDown's top heel over the coming months. They note that Braun Strowman will also be a heel. So Mike Johnson says, and I quote, "As you saw at the end of Friday Night SmackDown, Roman Reigns is now aligned with Paul Heyman. In a piece of news that will please all the fans over the years who rejected Reigns as a babyface, PWInsider.com can confirm that going forward, the plans are to push Reigns as a top heel on the SmackDown brand going forward." End quote. Some people are saying too little, too late. Some people are happy, just like I'm happy. Some people don't give a shit about Roman Reigns, whether he's a babyface or a heel. But at the end of the day, this was absolutely needed. At the end of the day, I think we can all sit down and maybe, one time out of 1,000, appreciate WWE for doing the right thing. They can only get it wrong so many fucking times. One time, they got it right. Now, I don't want to sit here and be the biggest Roman Reigns fucking fanboy that there is right now because he's a heel. I still have my reservations about Roman Reigns. I still have my reservations more than anything, about WWE booking this correctly. But I feel like if Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns are aligned, then Paul Heyman is going to have a very, very, very big hand on what the direction of Roman Reigns is going to be moving forward. You guys heard the clip at the beginning of the show. This was 2 years in the making. That clip was on Monday Night Raw during Roman Reigns' feud and quest against Brock Lesnar. So, is it a prediction or is it a spoiler? Roman Reigns is a Paul Heyman guy. Even without Friday night, Roman Reigns was always a Paul Heyman guy. Roman Reigns is very fond of Paul Heyman and vice versa. So, there's no reason to believe that this isn't going to be a success. This is going to be a success. It has to be. It has to be. Nothing can be worse than what we got with Roman Reigns over the last 5 years. 5 years. I've asked for this. 5 years I've went to battle for this. 5 years I was criticized for this. 5 years I've been blackballed and blacklisted for my opinion. 5 years. 5 fucking years. 5 years. I've had to hear it from all sides. I had to hear it when he had leukemia. I had to hear it when I said WWE is really, really, really egging this shit on with the fucking leukemia. That they're selling his leukemia sob story and making it seem worse than it is. People came and said that I said his leukemia was faked. Faked. Meanwhile, I came out and defended Joe Anoa'i in every sense of the word. I gave him my well wishes. I gave him my thoughts and prayers. Give me a break. All I ever did was criticize WWE's stance and their political stance and their agenda in getting the fans to like somebody that they clearly do not want to like and cheer for. Roman Reigns was not the chosen one. He wasn't. And all I ever said was, you got Paul Heyman there. You got Paul Heyman there waiting to turn this guy into a legit superstar. If you don't believe that I've been talking about this for the last 5 years, go and do your fucking research. This very fucking moment on Friday night is what I said was the best for Roman Reigns going forward. WWE didn't do it. WWE didn't realize that if they turned Roman heel, that Roman Reigns would be the most over guy in the company. They would get everything that they want, plus some, if Roman Reigns turned into a heel. Roman Reigns' booking would have been so much better than what we got. And they didn't do it because they were afraid. They were afraid. They wanted to continue going down that Roman Reigns path because in the eyes of WWE, everything that they do is right. WWE will never admit that the fans are right. They hate us. WWE management loathes every single one of us. They'll pretend that they like us. They'll pretend that they're all for the fans. They'll pretend, how important the fans are. But deep down at the end of the day, they fucking hate you. They hate you. In some sense, some of the superstars fucking hate you at the end of the day. Look at how fucking disrespectful they are to the fans on social media. Every single one of them comes off as, oh my God, I love you all, but on social media, forget about it. We're the biggest fucking enemies to what they do. The people that care legitimately are their biggest enemies. Meanwhile, they interpret it as hate. They interpret the criticism as hate. Instead of interpreting the criticism as, man, these people genuinely are invested in every single thing that we fucking do. WWE could have had Roman Reigns be the biggest superstar of their wildest dreams if they did what I did 5 years ago. And in that 5 years, there was opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to turn him heel, and they didn't do it. Why? Because in their eyes, they are right. They were afraid that they were going to be losing money on Roman Reigns. How so? How so? How would you be losing money on Roman Reigns? If Roman Reigns was a heel, more people would be paying to watch him. Who's going to be against Roman Reigns if he turns heel and sheds that baby face shield fucking moniker and leaves it in the past? What was the difference? He never shed the shield gimmick. Roman Reigns can't come out to the same fucking theme music anymore. Roman Reigns came out to the old Shield theme song. He never fit the role. Everybody always advanced. Dean Ambrose advanced. Seth Rollins advanced and continues to evolve. And now Jon Moxley's the AEW champion. Look at what happened when he shed all of that fucking garbage. He is better than he's ever been in AEW. Ever. Roman Reigns never let go of the past. WWE always seen that for Roman Reigns. It was failure waiting to happen. It was fan disgust waiting to happen. It was fans being bored waiting to happen. It was fans waiting to turn on this guy at the drop of a dime. In WWE, they took the plunger and jammed it down everybody's fucking throat for 5 years. What do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to do? They're going to regurgitate. Because they don't want it. They don't want to be force-fed something they clearly do not like. They never got Roman Reigns to evolve. And all they did was give us the same Roman Reigns we seen in the Shield. As if that was going to be some fucking piece of the past that people were just going to latch onto forever and ever and ever. No. No. Roman, if he was a heel and WWE did what they did on Friday earlier, he would have been the biggest heel in all of pro wrestling. He would have been the biggest superstar in all of pro wrestling. In some sense, he is, but he never really broke through that one final glass ceiling. Now, you can maybe talk about Roman breaking through that one final glass ceiling and really evolving. Fans would have came out and supported him. The fans that feel he turned their back on them, they would have came out to fucking see him get what he rightfully deserves. I don't see how this would have been a bad thing. He would have sold t-shirts to the people that shit on him. They would have ended up buying t-shirts because now Roman is accepted. Now they're proud to wear Roman t-shirts. For fuck's sakes, I would have bought a Roman fucking t-shirt if he turned heel. I may actually go and buy the new fucking Roman t-shirt because you know why? Now we can accept him for what he really is. This Roman Reigns was needed then, now, and forever. And they just sat on it and felt like what they were doing was right. But for 5 years, they were wrong. Roman didn't matter. He didn't matter. He was just another guy. He was always going to be another guy. No matter what you did with him, no matter how many championships he would have won, he would have still been another guy. No difference if he was on the show or off the show. It didn't improve when Roman was there. It didn't get any worse when Roman wasn't there. Look at the buzz that Roman has started. Look at the buzz WWE has started by 15 seconds. 15 seconds of him and Paul Heyman sitting on the same couch together. That's all it took. That's all it took. Now, is WWE doing this for us? No, they're not. I mentioned this on Friday night. They're not doing this for us. They realize that this is what they need to do now. They're not doing it now because they realize that they fucked up for 5 years. They're doing it now because they can. WWE's doing it now because they can, because it's not going to affect their bottom line. It never was going to affect their bottom line. But now WWE's in this comfort zone where they realize, hey, we can turn Roman heel. It's not going to affect us. And then maybe when fans come back, we'll give them the heel guy that they wanted. And then when the fans come back, then it's back to the Roman that we absolutely disgusted. WWE's not doing this for us. WWE's doing this because they can. WWE's not doing this because they want to. They're not doing this because they have to. WWE's doing this because they can. And they can because there's no live gate. They're not making any revenue. They're not making any revenue off of live shows. So WWE, what they're afraid of, Roman's not going to sell t-shirts. Roman is not going to generate interest as a heel. The attendance and live attendance figures are not going to go down because people are not wanting to come see Roman anymore. They can do it because those things don't exist at this current time. That's the way it is, folks. So Roman winning the Universal Championship, Roman turning heel, yes, it's a long time coming. Is it a story of a situation where it's too little too late? In some sense, yes. But at the end of the day, WWE needed something. This is the Roman Reigns we needed. WWE needed Roman Reigns back on television. And if you're sitting there thinking, Roman Reigns being back on television would have been the boost WWE needed anyway. No, that's not the case. If WWE brought back Roman Reigns, the same Roman Reigns that we fucking hated, every ounce of our fucking souls hated Roman Reigns before all of this happened. If we got the Roman Reigns from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where WWE just fucking forced him in every which way down our throat. If WWE brought that Roman Reigns back to television, how many of you would be interested in Roman Reigns? Zero. If they brought that Roman Reigns back to television, WWE would be in the same fucking boat they were all pandemic. Nobody would watch. Because this is the same shit that they were doing 2 years ago, and they realized people don't want to see that. But they're doing it more so not because they have to. They're doing it because they can. WWE would have brought back that Roman Reigns if things were normal. Absolutely. This is what I mentioned about the Thunderdome. If the ratings were 3, 4 inside the Performance Center, would WWE go out and spend $500,000 on a fucking Thunderdome? No. Doesn't matter where that show takes place, as long as the ratings were where WWE wanted them to be, they wouldn't be moving into the fucking Thunderdome. If the ratings were where they were, 3, 4, right? Would we be getting Roman Reigns as a heel? Probably not. Probably not. They knew they had a dying product. They knew they couldn't bring back Roman Reigns. They knew that no matter what they did with Roman Reigns, it wasn't going to affect their bottom line. So why the fuck not? Let's do it. Let's do it. And then when they have fans back, they're going to turn Roman Reigns back into what we remember him being 2 or 3 years ago. But I'm saying this right now. I'm giving it a chance. Even though I don't trust these people, I'm giving it a chance. Now, Bray Wyatt, we could talk all day about Roman Reigns. We could talk all day about Roman Reigns. But Bray Wyatt, what is going to happen to Bray Wyatt? I mentioned this before. I don't know why Bray Wyatt won the Universal Championship if the plan was always to give Roman Reigns the World Championship. They knew Roman Reigns was coming back before this match on Sunday. They knew on Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. They probably knew for like 2 weeks. They probably knew in the middle of this feud that Roman Reigns was coming back. So why would you go out there and make a decision for Bray Wyatt to win the championship only to drop it 7 days later? I don't understand that. Now Braun Strowman's a heel. Now Roman Reigns supposedly is going to be a heel with Paul Heyman. Bray Wyatt's going to be a babyface. I don't understand how the fuck that's going to work. When you look at Bray Wyatt, when you look at the fucking Fiend, do you look at babyface? I know I don't. How the fuck is that going to work? Not as The Fiend, not as Bray Wyatt. I don't look at anything when I look at this gimmick as a babyface. This character is so much more multi-layered than his last incarnation. At least with that, Bray Wyatt was able to speak for himself and cut a promo and be in the ring as Bray Wyatt. The same guy that you seen cutting a promo, he was in that ring wrestling. So he could sell the mannerisms, he could sell the body language, he could sell the facial expressions, he could do the hot babyface comeback when it needs to be. That he did. That he did. And he did it with Roman Reigns. Random episode of Monday Night Raw, they teamed together against the League of Nations, and Bray Wyatt surprised the fuck out of me doing a babyface gimmick for one night. And he did it great. Wyndham Rotunda has all the talent in the world to pull anything off. I don't want to take anything away from him. I don't want to doubt him. But this gimmick is so multifaceted and multi-layered that when I look at Bray Wyatt, I don't see anything but a fucking heel. How are you going to look at somebody like The Fiend and think babyface? How are you going to look at Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt and think babyface? It screams creepy motherfucker to me. Funhouse, appealing to kids, puppets, this fucking devilish and hellish fucking vibe he gives off, even in that environment. I don't see how this is going to work. Unless Alexa Bliss. What is the one thing The Fiend cannot do? Can't cut a promo. The Fiend doesn't speak. He only uses his hands, his gloves. He uses his body language. He laughs. He doesn't say anything. But how is Bray Wyatt going to incorporate selling The Fiend as a babyface? Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss is still involved in this storyline. Alexa Bliss. Everybody loves Alexa Bliss. I don't. Everybody loves Alexa Bliss. Everybody looks at Alexa Bliss as, oh my God, I love Alexa. Lexa! She's going to be the bridge to get Bray Wyatt into being a babyface. What we've seen on SmackDown doesn't necessarily mean that Alexa Bliss is going to be a heel because she took Nikki Cross's coffee mug and threw it on the floor. This is going to be a situation where Nikki Cross, I believe, is going to turn heel. Alexa is going to remain a babyface because that is the only way Bray Wyatt as The Fiend is going to come off on television as a babyface. He's going to need somebody to speak for him. And Alexa does that a lot better than most of the women on the WWE roster. And she was a babyface going into this thing, and that's what's going to be coming out of this. Alexa Bliss is going to be the spokesman for Bray Wyatt. She's going to be his Harley Quinn to his Joker. That's exactly what it's going to be. And if that's the reason, or if that's the way, rather, to give us a babyface Bray Wyatt, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. That takes Alexa Bliss out of doing the wrestling thing and wrestling for the championship, and it puts her in a much stronger role, a role that I think a lot more people respect her for than her in-ring prowess. So I think this is going to be a very good thing for Alexa Bliss. I still have to see Bray Wyatt in action as a babyface, but it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see Roman Reigns playing the heel and then Bray Wyatt playing the sympathetic babyface. I don't know. I really, really, really don't know how this is going to work. If this was Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt back then, I would have been like, you know what? I think he's going to do it. This is 2020 and a different character, Bray Wyatt, a much more multi-layered character for Bray Wyatt, a much more complex character for Bray Wyatt. I just don't see it working right now. Prove me wrong. I hope you do. I hope you do. But still, even then, at the end of the day, how many people are going to be giving a shit about Bray Wyatt? Because it's all about Roman Reigns now. It really is all about Roman Reigns on SmackDown. So we'll see what happens. So Roman Reigns is winning the Universal Championship. I don't know why Bray Wyatt needed to be a transitional champion. Fuck Braun Strowman. He's nothing more than a third wheel in this situation. Roman Reigns is going to be the top heel on SmackDown with Paul Heyman. Bray Wyatt's going to be the top babyface on SmackDown with Alexa Bliss by his side being his manager. She was a manager once before for Blake and Murphy in NXT. So this is going to be her second stint as a manager. Like I said, being that Harley Quinn to Bray Wyatt's Joker. We'll see what happens. If Paul Heyman is pulling the strings here on this storyline and kind of aligning the stars here, more times than not, I'm going to give it a chance. Because Paul Heyman, no matter what people say about him, Paul Heyman gets it. Paul Heyman is creative. Paul Heyman just wants good television. So I'm going to give it a chance. That is the latest on Roman Reigns. Those are my thoughts on Roman Reigns becoming a heel, Bray Wyatt becoming a babyface, the plans moving forward, why they didn't do what they needed to do at SummerSlam, looking back at it. Let me know what you guys think below in the comment section. I would really appreciate your thoughts on this. Now, the other big question is with Roman Reigns is what happens when Roman Reigns inevitably gets rid of The Fiend and we have Roman Reigns as the biggest heel on SmackDown. What happens then? Who does he feud with? Because you know Bray Wyatt's never going to win that championship back. I would say the way that they're going with all of this situation is it really sets up for a situation, a possibility of Roman Reigns taking that title into WrestleMania. And we can see Roman Reigns versus Big E at WrestleMania for the Universal Championship. How great would that be? Now, I'm not for this Big E run. I'm really not. I'm one of those guys that really is on the fence about it. I really feel like Big E needs to change. I feel like Big E needs to be a little bit more serious. People never took Kofi to be serious. He won the championship. It was one of the best moments in WrestleMania history. I give him that. He was never supposed to be the WWE champion. Never. And if you think he was in the plans, you're an idiot. Okay? It was going to be Daniel Bryan or Kevin Owens. It was going to be Daniel Bryan and Mustafa Ali. Kofi Kingston never factored into anything. He got the spot because Ali got hurt, and then he blew everybody away. He was just in the right moment at the right time, and fans gravitated to him. Now, Big E, they're trying to do the same thing with Big E and tell the same story. I don't really get it. You fucked up with Kofi because he was never one guy that really felt like a champion after he won it. They tried, but they never really made him into a champion. Throwing pancakes and gyrating and the fucking unicorns. Give me a break. Big E needs a little bit more edge. Big E needs a little bit more seriousness. Whether he gets kicked out of the New Day or whatever. He needs to be different. Now with Roman Reigns, I don't know who besides Roman Reigns would be built up as a champion and be at a fucking just godlike heel status going into WrestleMania. Roman Reigns is going to be the ultimate final boss in this situation. There's nobody else better. There's nobody else that would even come close to fitting the bill. And Roman Reigns being the Universal Champion going into WrestleMania, imagine Big E winning the Royal Rumble, challenging Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. We could be looking at a big-time situation, man. You want Big E to be over? You want Big E to be over? To me, Big E beating Roman Reigns at this godlike heel level is bigger than him beating a Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, to me, has no more value. He's got value, but he doesn't have that type of value. That WrestleMania, let's beat Lesnar in the main event value and get this new guy over. It's not going to happen that way. You've done it so many fucking times. You did it with Rollins. You did it with Reigns. You did it with Drew McIntyre. Did it with Goldberg. How many times can Lesnar go into WrestleMania and him lose and put over somebody else? It's lost its appeal. Now with Reigns, if Big E beats Roman Reigns, Big E, my God, how over he would be. That would be the quintessential. People thought I couldn't do it. Look at what I just did. Roman Reigns is in a spot where he is absolutely going to be bulletproof forever. Nobody's ever going to think less of Roman Reigns. But if Big E beats Roman Reigns, my God, what that would do for Big E's career. Honestly. Or, I would even go out on a limb because I wanted this. I wanted this for years. And I always, go back and listen, I always wanted something in regards to this happening. And now we got it. Now we got it. Imagine a heel Roman Reigns versus a babyface Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania for the Universal Championship, man. The Yes Movement versus Roman Reigns. My God, I'm getting chills just talking about it. I am getting chills just talking about it. I wanted that. I'm like, that's a wrestling. You have a story that is already written there. Imagine that. Unbelievable. So Roman Reigns, again, going back to what I just talked about, Roman Reigns being the Universal Champion, you might not like him, but my God, man, the plans, the possibilities with Reigns as a heel and as Universal Champion, those two right there, I don't know how anybody listening to me cannot get excited about that and those particular situations. It's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Now, take a sip of my cold beverage here, man. Roman Reigns. There are Retribution tie-ins. Is he the leader of Retribution? Nobody knows. Retribution was mentioned on SmackDown. They were not seen on SmackDown. The last thing we seen was Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns, and no sign of Retribution, even though Adam Pearce, per storyline, got extra security inside the Thunderdome. Now, we are going to talk about Retribution, and everybody's talking about Retribution. And after SummerSlam happened, he attacked the Universal Champion, he attacked Braun Strowman. Reigns came back and instantly made the Universal Championship picture on SmackDown much more interesting, added much needed star power. Why is he back? We really haven't clued in on why he's back. Clearly he wants something that he never lost, which is the Universal Championship, but that's only one layer of why he's back. Now, during his return, Reigns obviously from the get-go showed heel tendencies, and then that was cemented with Paul Heyman. Reigns was wearing this Wreck Everything and Leave shirt as he attacked The Fiend and Braun Strowman at SummerSlam, and some believe that this could be a nod to the Retribution faction who made all this chaos for weeks, going on a month now, on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown on Fox. More so this week on SmackDown, we got a mention of Retribution, but no Retribution at all. But Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns were the big focus of SmackDown last night. Does that tie in to Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman being a part of Retribution? They even attacked Braun Strowman the week before, when Vince McMahon welcomed everybody to the debut of the Thunderdome. So that was that, and that went on into SummerSlam, and then we got what we got on SmackDown last night. Now, I mentioned on the review, what if Paul Heyman was the leader of Retribution? It would certainly fit into the storyline. It would certainly fit into the storyline arc. Paul Heyman was fired as executive director on Monday Night Raw. Paul Heyman was fired, and he gathered a group of men and women that he wanted on Monday Night Raw and could no longer have on Monday Night Raw. So he got them together to do his bidding, and now they are causing internal chaos on Monday and Friday night. Dominic Dijakovic was supposed to be brought to Monday Night Raw. Never debuted. Dio Madden, the other guy that was under the mask, he was supposed to be on commentary for Monday Night Raw. He got ousted. They took him off commentary. Brock Lesnar took him out. So he's seeking retribution. Never to return again did Dio Madden come back to Monday Night Raw. Chelsea Green, one of the females under the hoods. She is engaged to Matt Cardona, a.k.a. Zack Ryder. He was fired from WWE from Monday Night Raw. Then we got Chelsea Green along with Mia Yim and Kaden Carter from NXT. Those are the other two women, rounding out three women in WWE, in Retribution. Kaden Carter, I really don't know. There's got to be some sort of backstory there. Mia Yim, I don't really know. Why is she or why would she be in Retribution? Again, I don't know. The other guy there is Shane Thorne. Shane Thorne was on Monday Night Raw. He was supposed to get a big push on Monday night. He was brought to Monday Night Raw by Paul Heyman with Brendan Vink. They beat Ricochet and Cedric Alexander on Monday Night Raw. They were supposed to get a big push. They were actually supposed to be aligned with MVP, who is also, coincidentally, a Paul Heyman guy. MVP is on Raw because of Paul Heyman. And he got ousted. He got demoted back down to NXT, or promoted, I should say, as I joke. But he got sent back down to NXT with no explanation of his removal from Monday night. And then you got Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is the king of this. He's obviously seeking retribution against what? WWE. Look at what they did during all of this shit going into WrestleMania, causing Roman Reigns to actively walk out of WWE and remove himself from a Universal Championship match that he was supposed to win. And now he's back for retribution. WWE wanted to cause chaos in my life. Now I'm bringing the chaos to WWE. It just makes sense. I don't know if Reigns is going to be the leader of Retribution, but he certainly could be a figurehead of Retribution. Paul Heyman leading Retribution makes all the sense in the world. Because anybody else in that group doesn't make sense without a figurehead. None of them make sense without a figurehead. WWE's got to give me some really creative shit to make me believe why these men and women want to destroy WWE, why they want to go against the machine. And none of those men and women really seem like the leader role. I can't really see Dominik Dijakovic being a leader of a stable. They're going to need somebody to solidify them. Who knows of a Dijakovic? Who knows of a Diomad? Who knows of anybody in that stable? If those are the men and women that we believe are Retribution, which very well could be another 6 different men and women next week or the week after that. WWE doesn't even know who is in Retribution. But I don't look at any of those men and women as a leader, as a talker. They're going to need somebody to solidify this group. And being that they played a very integral part of WWE television in major segments, they're going to need somebody that's going to give them legitimacy. Is Roman Reigns that guy? Is Paul Heyman that guy? Is it a mixture of both of them? I don't know. But I genuinely think that Reigns and Heyman, or both of them, would fit perfectly into Retribution. So that is something we need to look out for as far as what is happening with Retribution. Now, Dominik Dijakovic, who, like I said, is widely believed to be one of the main members of the group, sent out and then deleted a cryptic tweet this past Friday during SmackDown. The tweet was deleted, like I said, and it contained this in the tweet. It was only numbers. He tweeted out only numbers. He tweeted out the following, and I quote, 1921140400125, end quote. Now, clearly, when you tweet it out on social media, it lives forever. Somebody's always there, especially now that people have kind of zoned in on when Dominik Dijakovic tweets. It may be something important or prevalent to what's going on here in Retribution. And the fact that he's blacked out his entire Twitter wall, that doesn't really send off any mixed signals now, right? Come on. So if you translate this by using a cipher, the numbers translate to Sunday, which happens to be WWE Payback. Now, we don't know what's going to happen. Reigns is going to be on Sunday. Paul Heyman is going to be on Sunday. We don't know what they want, what they're here for, who they are, why they're even together. But we all know that the two men that people are actively saying could be a part of it more so than anybody else, Reigns and Heyman, they will be there Sunday. It's going to be a very interesting situation to look out for. Now, Reigns, also, with him being back, it led to a major change for Money in the Bank. Folks, I have to urge you, if you're drinking anything, if you're feeling a little queasy, if you're feeling a little ill, put it down, because what I'm about to tell you may give you some form of sickness that I don't really care to know about. Now, Reigns, his absence led to a major change for Money in the Bank. Now, the original plan was for Reigns to defeat Wyatt at WrestleMania to become the new Universal Champion. That much we know. WWE scrapped those plans. Goldberg defeated The Fiend at Super Showdown. And then Goldberg was supposed to lose the title to Reigns at WrestleMania. Okay? Now, with Reigns taking himself out of WrestleMania, WWE replaced him with Strowman, who defeated Goldberg for the Universal Championship. With Reigns taking a lengthy hiatus, WWE had to make several changes to its long-term plans. According to Sportskeeda, this included plans for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, which was won by Otis. Now that I look back on, doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. That might be one of the worst creative decisions that WWE did all year. Sportskeeda reports that the plan for the Money in the Bank ladder match was to make a new star. Now, I don't understand why Otis is Mr. Money in the Bank and he's not a new star. They really treated him like an afterthought coming out of Money in the Bank. They didn't really do anything with him. There was maybe one teased cash-in, and that is it, on Braun Strowman in a tag team match against Miz and Morrison on SmackDown. That was it. Other than that, he really hasn't done anything with the Money in the Bank. In fact, he hasn't done anything with the Money in the Bank, which makes me believe he doesn't even give a shit about the Money in the Bank. Because that's the way it comes off. It also comes off as if WWE doesn't have any plans or respect, is a better word for me to use, for the Money in the Bank. Now, with Reigns defeating Wyatt at WrestleMania, which was the plan was to set up a future Universal title match. Reigns was going to win the Universal title at WrestleMania, and his first opponent was going to be Baron Corbin. So we were going to get Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin for the Universal Championship after WrestleMania. Folks, I'll give you about 5 seconds while I take a sip of this cold beverage, because I know many of you are ill right now. Please, I didn't want to make you ill. I didn't intend for you to be ill. I know I'm feeling stomach pains right now, more so than I was earlier this morning. This is making me sick just thinking about it. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Now, it makes Roman Reigns turning heel that much more better. It really does. Imagine if WWE brought back the typical Roman Reigns to WWE TV now, babyface Roman Reigns, and he wins the Universal Championship. We could be looking at this going into the later part of 2020, early 21. Is that what you want? Is this what you want? Baron Corbin declining ratings on Friday night? Is this what you want? I know, I don't want that. I don't even want Baron Corbin on my fucking TV any week. Now, that was the match that they had planned. According to Sportskeeda, Otis would then use his Money in the Bank opportunity against the new Universal Champion. They say, and I quote, King Corbin would be the man whom Otis would claim the briefcase on. Otis would be cashing in on King Corbin after he won his first championship. So according to them, it was supposed to be Reigns and Corbin, with Corbin beating Reigns for the Universal Championship, only to have Otis cash in and pin Baron Corbin and become the Universal Champion. This sounds fucking terrible. Absolutely terrible. So for everybody that wants to complain to me, JD, how could you turn your back on us and now you're a Roman Reigns fan? I don't see what the big deal is about Roman Reigns being a heel. I just expressed it to you. I just explained it to you. Would you rather have me sit here and praise WWE on a heel Roman Reigns, or would you rather all of this situation happen on Friday night? I think the answer is very simple, folks. I think the answer is very, very simple. Do not complain. Do not aim your criticisms at me. Baron Corbin as the Universal Champion sounds like one of the worst creative ideas in the history of WWE. That would have been so bad that I don't think anybody would be watching SmackDown at that point. Now, because Otis is a fan favorite, everybody loves Otis, it makes the most sense for him to cash in against the heel. Many fans interpreted Reigns' attack on Wyatt as a heel turn. Then we got Paul Heyman. That solidified Reigns as a heel. It makes sense for Otis to cash in on Roman Reigns now, which I don't think is going to happen. But if King Corbin eventually captures a Universal title, don't be surprised if Otis were to eventually cash in on him. Either way, WWE has plenty of options to choose from regarding his cash-in. I don't think they do. There's only one option and one option only. He cashes in on Reigns and you get the fucking briefcase off of TV, and then you move Tucker and Otis into a tag team title program with whoever the tag team champions are. And that's it. Nobody believed in Otis then. Nobody believes in Otis now. Nobody ever thought of Otis being a WWE champion, ever. Nobody will ever look at Otis as a WWE champion. So why does he even have the fucking briefcase? I don't know why this couldn't have gone to an Aleister Black or an AJ Styles or anybody else in that fucking match. Anybody but Otis or Corbin. I don't get it. Looking back at it, it makes no sense whatsoever. Speaking about Payback. Payback reportedly is an experiment by WWE. Dave Meltzer talked about WWE using Payback as an experiment. They will likely use this as a way to maybe bring back pay-per-views after major pay-per-views and add more pay-per-views to the overall pay-per-view calendar, which I think is a terrible idea because this company doesn't get the grasp of quality over quantity. In their eyes, it's quantity, more. And then you wither everything down to being unimportant. There's no reason for Payback to be Sunday night. I would actually take a weekend off and be happy with it. I don't want another pay-per-view. SummerSlam, Payback, All Out next week. I'm tired, bro. I am honestly tired. My voice is strained on most days. I'm here talking for 2 hours every fucking night to give you guys all the entertainment you need. You guys rely on me to be the Messiah, to do God's work, because none of you are watching this shit on a weekly basis. Nobody. Most of the people here aren't watching. So you need me. And I'm happy to do it. But Jesus Christ, man, even God rested on the seventh day. Now, Payback is a waste of time. Payback is a waste of time. We're getting Matt Riddle versus Baron Corbin. That could be safe for SmackDown. We're getting Big E versus Sheamus. That could be safe for SmackDown. They gave us Rey and Dominic versus Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy on Monday Night Raw. Now we're getting it again. What are we getting? The Lucha House Party versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro? Why? Why? Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles? I seen it already. I don't care. I don't care. I say it all the time. WWE can actually use these matches and maybe, here's the thought. How about you book Monday Night Raw as a night of pay-per-view matches, or you build a special theme around Monday Night Raw, or build a special theme around SmackDown? Why do we need to have another pay-per-view? It's like WWE just finds a reason to use the Thunderdome in the Amway Center. Oh, look! Give me a break. Payback only exists to give Roman Reigns the Universal Championship on a pay-per-view. That is it. They couldn't wait to give Roman Reigns the Universal Championship. That they created a pay-per-view out of thin air a week after their second biggest show of the year. That's it. And they're using this also to further drive Sasha and Bayley's breakup. They're using this pay-per-view to give Roman Reigns the Universal title, and they're using this pay-per-view to take the titles off of Bayley and Sasha Banks. And that is it. That is it. So Meltzer says this is an experiment. Meltzer has not put it past WWE to use this pay-per-view about AEW. He did not put it past WWE to use this Payback pay-per-view about ruining AEW's numbers for their upcoming All Out show. I don't think that's the case because it's happening literally a week before All Out. But I will tell you what WWE is doing on Wednesday. WWE is actually airing reruns of NXT on the Sci-Fi Network. They're airing reruns of NXT on the Sci-Fi Network to go head-to-head with AEW on Wednesday night. Because they can't put NXT on USA because there's going to be hockey playoffs on USA. So when you think that there's no AEW effect and WWE is, they're not counter-programming AEW. Yeah, they are. So desperate that they're putting fucking NXT reruns on Sci-Fi Network, which is an NBC Universal partner. Now, it's not about All Out. Meltzer thinks that WWE is using Payback somewhat to kind of gouge AEW's numbers for All Out. Now, when asked by a Twitter follower if WWE might be trying to saturate the market with pay-per-views and wear fans out before All Out on September 5th, Meltzer did not shy away from suggesting that was possible. Meltzer responded, and I quote, "Having been around wrestling promoters for 38 years and covering Vince virtually that entire time, it is the first conclusion that you would come to. That's how he operates and will always operate." End quote. Payback is nothing more than a glorified SmackDown and Raw episode combined, folks. It's a Raw SmackDown Super Show, but like I said, the only reason why it exists is to give Roman that big Universal title win on pay-per-view and give Sasha and Bayley a reason to lose those tag team championships to further their storyline. And that is it. That is it. Monday Night Raw. The Raw rating was not as good as everyone said it was. People in the community jumping for joy that Monday Night Raw drew their best rating in 4 months. It makes me fucking sick that these people use Monday Night Raw and a good rating on Monday Night. Oh, look, it's getting better. It's getting better. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not getting better. In fact, the show was absolutely downright fucking abysmal on Monday night. It was one of the worst shows of the year creatively. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Now, the combination of the show's Thunderdome debut and being the day after SummerSlam led to Monday Night Raw having its best numbers in more than 4 months, averaging a 2.03 million viewership with a 0.67 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. Now, Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that the SummerSlam Google search numbers, like I mentioned before, when talking about SummerSlam and Roman Reigns, that the SummerSlam Google search numbers did really, really bad. They had 200,000 searches and ranked 9th place for the night on Sunday. It was noted that the 200,000 is generally what the company earns for a standard pay-per-view. SummerSlam is generally a much bigger event in terms of interest. Now, even with all the promotion of the Thunderdome, WWE didn't garner the 500,000 to 1 million Google search results that they usually do for their biggest pay-per-view of the summer. Roman Reigns' return was a huge surprise for the event, but people weren't searching for SummerSlam after the show went off the air like they used to. Now, the episode of Monday Night Raw that happened on Monday caused discussion for its many twists and turns that it presented. According to what transpires from America, it was also the result of particularly bumpy creative work. Everybody here watching the show on Monday night, whether you were watching the MLB or the NBA or the NHL or the Democratic and Republican shit going on for the election, everybody that watched Monday Night Raw said the same thing to me. This show creatively is such fucking horseshit. Nothing makes any sense whatsoever. They botched the debut of Keith Lee. Everybody was talking about how he doesn't have his theme music, how it's all bullshit, how Vince McMahon's ruining him already, how Randy Orton came out expressing that he is a casualty of pity by Drew McIntyre, and how he's getting a Universal or WWE Championship match, rather, and he wants a rematch now because of that reason and that reason only. Instead of having him fucking beat Drew McIntyre at the pay-per-view and cause some nefarious fuck finish, they didn't do that. They didn't do that. They opted to take Drew McIntyre out with 2 punt kicks and then give us Keith Lee versus Randy Orton at Payback on Sunday night. It didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense to me. Now, everybody said the same thing, and the creative was one of the worst I've seen all year. And given with what happened in recent weeks, this number is being looked at as good news by a lot of different people. According to the data arriving, in fact, the episode of Raw this past Monday returned to present as an average of over 2 million viewers, a mediocre figure compared to the numbers in which WWE is used to getting, but very important considering that things have been difficult in 2020. That's not all, because the figure of the second million was not reached only and exclusively in the third hour of the show, historically the most difficult hour for Monday Night Raw. The numbers were up 23% in viewers, but more importantly, 40% in the 18 to 49. So they did have a younger audience checking them out, and about 250,000 in the demo of 18 to 49 that haven't been watching Raw in the past several months. It was mostly 35 to 49 gains, since the 18 to 34 increase was only 18%. But there is also another aspect that people really aren't talking about, and it was defined more importantly by the Wrestling Observer. According to Meltzer, there is a public number for the ratings that WWE is not really reflecting. There's a public number that are not giving attention to the WWE shows. The number increased by 23%, says Meltzer, in terms of the total number of spectators, writes Meltzer. But above all, 40% among those aged 18 to 49. So WWE had a younger audience who chose Raw with an increase about 250,000 people in the 18 to 49 age group. All the people who hadn't watched Raw in the past few months, the audience was still made up of mostly people between 35 and 49, as an increase has 18 to 49 was 18%. The 3 hours were 2.14, 2.05, and 1.90 for the third hour. That came in below the 2. This is a very important matter as WWE allows, the shows to breathe after all of the enormous difficulties encountered in 2020. Raw was 6th in the 18 to 49 for the night and 20th overall. Now, as compared to last year, and this is where my argument came in with a lot of people, compared to last year, the show was down 20% overall, 16% in the 18 to 49, and 39% in the 18 to 34. As far as keeping the audience for 3 hours, women 18 to 49 dropped 12% from the first to third hour. Men dropped in the 18 to 49, 14%. Teenage girls dropped 28%, and teenage boys dropped 18%, while 50 plus dropped 11%. Now, everybody was claiming that this Raw was, oh my God, look at how the Thunderdome is working, blah, 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 blah. The Thunderdome worked to an extent because it still has that new car smell. It gives WWE the aesthetic that they want, but I don't necessarily think it's making much of a difference. It's more of a distraction than anything. It's more of a gimmick than anything. And SummerSlam happened on Sunday night, and SummerSlam usually gives way to the second biggest Monday Night Raw of the entire calendar year. So people who watch SummerSlam, more so than not, they opted to give Monday Night Raw a chance because SummerSlam was a decent fucking show. That's what happened. WWE got their trust coming out of Sunday, and then they let them down on Monday. So I don't see why people are jumping for joy. I said this was going to be the same exact thing before we even got into the Thunderdome. Yes, you were going to pop a big rating on that opening night on Friday. Yes, you were going to pop a big rating on Monday, not only with the new car smell of the Thunderdome, but you were still coming out of SummerSlam, and that is the second biggest show of the year. On a Monday Night Raw that does not have Roman Reigns right now, who's the most talked about figure in all of WWE, the rating that you're really going to have to pay attention to is the second week, the third week, the fourth week on Monday night. And depending on what you thought of Monday's Raw, which generally was overly negative, I don't think many people are going to be giving WWE the benefit of the doubt in the Thunderdome or not. The show is just as garbage in the Thunderdome as they were inside the Performance Center, so I don't really see the need for people to watch. If the creative sucks, people are not going to watch. If the show sucks, people are not going to watch. But if WWE actually gave us good shows on a consistent basis, then people would be watching more so. We wouldn't be talking about moving into the Thunderdome. We wouldn't be talking about WWE getting a 2 rating. What worked? What worked? The fact that they came out of SummerSlam? That's a given. The fact that they still have that new car smell from the Thunderdome? That's a given. But every car you drive off the lot brand new, 2, 3, 4 months from now, it just becomes like everything else on the road, ordinary. Give me a break. Monday Night Raw still needs massive work in every which way. And Monday Night Raw, if they were actually creative and they were actually at a point where they were delivering consistent shows, we wouldn't be in this dilemma. Seriously. And it's not going to be 6 months. It's not going to be 12 months. We need fucking 36 months of rehabilitation for Monday Night Raw to be back where we all know it should be. WWE has figured out a way to prevent fans from displaying obscene images in the Thunderdome. Apparently on Monday Night Raw, if you guys watched, there was a beheading. There was a KKK rally. There was something else, I believe, that was not really all that well. Chris Benoit entered the Thunderdome. There was a Fire Velveteen Dream sign inside the Thunderdome. That was actually on SummerSlam Sunday. Kenny Omega was on Friday Night SmackDown, which I guess he confirmed. He was just trying to have a little fun, says Omega. Meanwhile, I guarantee you the dirt sheets are going to read Kenny Omega inside the Thunderdome, contract tampering with WWE employees, Kenny in the Thunderdome to scout WWE talent. So WWE has figured out a way to prevent fans from displaying obscene images during the Thunderdome shows. Brian Alvarez talked about this on The Observer. And he says this, and I quote, "I have been told that there are going to be changes. And I don't know this for sure, but the impression that I get is, when they've been doing this for a while, they're going to have to find some fans that are going to have to obey the rules no matter what. Maybe they've done it for about 3 shows already, but we've had Jessie the Buckeye. She's an influencer on social media. Alvarez mentioned her. We've had Jessie, who's in our chat as a mod, and she was on Raw. She's not going to hold up some goofy sign, Alvarez continued. She can be trusted, and they're finding other people that can be trusted, and I believe they're going to have to do all of this and find people who that they can trust before all of these untrustworthy people start grabbing those spots in the Thunderdome, on the lower section of the Thunderdome, hard camera. And then everybody who they don't necessarily trust, the first-timers, they're going to throw up into the nosebleeds. So they could have a volcano up on the screen, and you're not going to be able to see it because it's way up there in the upper portions of the Amway Center. End quote. Now, I know there are several people in WWE. If you watched the live shows, you've seen that little fucking guy with the mop hair, that emo guy who sat with his mother the entire time at every fucking major show. You had the sign guy, the WWE sign guy who wears the fucking trucker shirt with the hat. He was there. I seen him on one of the shows. You got the guy, the green shirt guy. He's always there. You usually see a bunch of notable faces front row. WWE needs to get guys like that, people like that, to sit in so that they don't have this bullshit happening inside the Thunderdome. What is it going to take? What is next? Everybody's watching these shows now out of sheer curiosity. What is going to be the next fucked up thing we see? Are we going to see Paige's sex tape leaked on one of these screens? What if somebody's streaming a fucking Pornhub video? What if somebody's actually doing the real life thing with their wife or their girlfriend live on Raw? Got a homemade fucking porno being made right in the Thunderdome. Wait till somebody flashes their junk. Wait till some fat slob takes up her shirt or lifts up her shirt and fucking reveals her saggy tits like I mentioned. Something's going to happen. Something is going to happen. It's a situation where people are doing it, in my eyes, because they don't necessarily have respect for the WWE. If you respected them to an extent, you wouldn't be doing any of this type of shit. If WWE has these fans in attendance, they're going to continue doing it. They need to put a stamp on it. I even mentioned pay. If you want to set a limit to pay for a spot in the Thunderdome instead of giving it away for free and having the signups be free, label all of the seats, depending on where they are, charge a minimum price to be inside the Thunderdome, and then that may lessen the fact of people going out there and willingly just embarrassing themselves to go viral and embarrass the company and go viral in hopes of going viral. It's ridiculous. Set a price of being in the Thunderdome. I mentioned this on Wednesday's Dynamite review. It's a situation of people, yes, not respecting the WWE. People are shit. People are just garbage. In general, people are just garbage. But if this was AEW, you probably have some WWE geeks bleeding into the Thunderdome and acting like a fool. But if you look at a genuine AEW fan and they had access to the Thunderdome like WWE does, you wouldn't see an abundance of this type of behavior from AEW fans because AEW fans respect the product. They would not go out there and make a fool of themselves. That is a rabid fan base that wants to appreciate and respect the company. WWE has these fans, these people signing up for the Thunderdome. They are people that don't necessarily respect the company. They may be fans of the company, but they don't necessarily respect, and they take this responsibility as a joke. And it's embarrassing. So WWE, either they get plants to be in here like Alvarez says, or they have the sign up and have a small fee that comes with the sign up. You got to pay to be in the Thunderdome. Other than that, I honestly think people are going to genuinely just sign up and troll the living shit out of WWE, and it will not stop until things and restrictions come down, and they're going to take away all the fun for everybody that actually enjoys being there. So we'll see what happens with that, but according to Alvarez, they figured out what to do with the Thunderdome moving forward as people are just taking it to be a joke. Guys, today's sponsor is Harry's, harrys.com/scripts. Literally, guys, the best shave I've ever had in my entire life, man. Harry's is so great. I've been using it for 3 years, and I have such a close shave every single time. I never cut myself. I love their products. I love their shave gel. And now they're coming out with new improvements to their blades. Harry's has new, sharper blades that they're not charging you for at all. They're just making improvements to their product, and they're still as low as $2 each. Like I said, I love the closeness of the shave. I love the glide of the blade. I love the fact that even though their blades are sharper than ever now, I still never cut myself on any of their blades. New U.S. customers can redeem a trial offer and use these new blades by going to harrys.com/script. These new blades are so sharp that in a study with guys shaving 4 times a week, the guys reported that with Harry's new blades, their 8th shave was as smooth as their first. Harry's owns a German blade factory as well that's been honing razor blades for over 100 years. They source their own steel from Sweden and own their entire manufacturing process from R&D to the factory floor. This allows them to keep the prices as low as they are. And confidently, they stand by a 100% quality guarantee on harrys.com. Everybody that signs up using our unique link, harrys.com/script, gets a 5-blade razor featuring their new sharper blades, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel with aloe, and a travel cover to protect your blade when you're on the go. Guys, harrys.com/script. Redeem your offer today. Start shaving better today. Start using Harry's. And I want to thank them for always being here as a sponsor right here on Off the Script. Let's check in on the chat, man. We got 1,500 people live. Let's try and get those thumbs up, man. We need another couple of hundred to get over 1,000. I would really appreciate you guys as we're just going to truck along here for episode 341 live on YouTube here for Off the Script. Moving on with the next story, man. There was a report coming out of Monday Night Raw that Vince McMahon showed up late. He showed up around 7:30 for Monday Night Raw. It was his birthday Monday. He turned 75, so he might have been doing something for his birthday. I don't really know. I don't really care to know. I don't give a fuck if it's his birthday, his anniversary. I don't give a shit. Write me a good show that I'm proud of. That doesn't have me spend my time on here for 2 hours ranting about how it doesn't make sense. So Vince showed up at 7:30 to Monday Night Raw. A script was done. He tore up the script and rewrote the show into the 9 o'clock hour. They did not have a completed script until the 2nd hour of Monday Night Raw. That is what happened on Monday. And now you understand and know why that the show was so terrible. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select said that several segments from Monday Night Raw were removed, including Raw Underground segments that were filmed and for some reason didn't make it onto TV. Sapp notes that some of these segments involve Marina Shafir, Jessamine Duke, Angel Garza, and Dolph Ziggler, and more were filmed in advance of last week's show. And that didn't make it into the final broadcast. Fightful has also learned that several WWE Raw Underground segments were scrapped, and they were not even viewed. So they were filmed with these individuals. They were not included in the show, and they were not even looked at. They just didn't care. So Titus O'Neil was also supposed to be given a spotlight on Raw Underground, which then evolved into Riddick Moss taking on Titus. Clearly that wasn't watched. Ivar faced Dolph Ziggler. Angel Garza got involved, which resulted in a situation where huge bumps were everywhere. No reason was given why these segments were scrapped. So everything that I just read to you, it was scrapped. Angel Garza on Raw Underground. I don't know why that is even a thing. Why would you put somebody that's been prominently featured on your show into a Raw Underground shoot-worked match? I don't really understand it. How is that going to make Angel Garza look good? So by the looks of it, Monday Night Raw had all these segments filmed. Now, to be fair, we may see them in the weeks to come. I don't know. I don't know what Vince McMahon is thinking, but if Vince McMahon didn't put them in the show and they were already filmed and nobody looked at them, why are we getting Raw Underground every week? It just goes and further proves the fact about Raw Underground that Raw Underground was used as a desperation attempt to get any sort of interest whatsoever in Monday Night Raw. And now that WWE has the Thunderdome, and now that they feel confident that they're going to be trending above the 2 rating on Monday, they don't need Raw Underground. That's my interpretation of this report. I don't see Raw Underground being a necessity anyway. 2 rating or sub 2 rating. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even fit into the fucking show. I never understood the appeal of Raw Underground. There's some people in the community that actually enjoy Raw Underground. For what? For what? It's not going to get anybody over. And it just brings a level of stupidity to a scripted wrestling program. If I want to go watch UFC, I'll go watch UFC. I've said this time and time and time again. Now, Ringside News is exclusively reporting that McMahon's absence, Vince McMahon's absence from the show throughout the taping, throughout the live broadcast, agitated some superstars on the roster. Who were agitated, I don't know. Him showing up so late and switching things around, giving little time to prepare other elements for the show, pissed people off. During Wrestling Observer Live, Meltzer provided additional details about what happened with McMahon on Monday. He says, and I quote, Vince did change a lot of stuff in the morning. He was on the phone with them all day, and then he flew in. He got in at about 7 o'clock. He changed some more stuff. The final script of the show went out after 9 o'clock, so there were an hour into Raw, and then they finished the show. It's not like he came in at 7, tore up the whole show. They changed some things after 7, but it was mostly changed during the day. Yes, a lot of the show was changed. The Raw Underground stuff was changed. That stuff is actually taped in the afternoon, so he couldn't change that. But obviously, in the morning, he did change some of it because they spent a week building up Ivar and Dolph Ziggler. He goes on to continue and say, does Meltzer, don't ask me for common sense on this. I just know that it was canceled on Monday. I guess the idea was that they just wanted Lashley to kill Dolph Ziggler and not worry about that arm wrestling match that he had done. Maybe they wanted Bobby Lashley to get his heat back because he was going to lose the arm wrestling match against Apollo Crews. I don't know. Bobby Lashley beat like 4 guys, and Ivar was one of them. How do you make sense of something like that? Again, they changed the whole show, but they didn't change any of the pay-per-view matches. So Ivar, didn't he lose to Dolph Ziggler the week before? Didn't he lose and get choked out by Dolph Ziggler the week before on Raw Underground? And then Ivar's in this thing getting beat up by Bobby Lashley, which is a little bit more believable, but I said it then, I'm going to say it now. I don't give a fuck what the Viking Raiders do after this. I'm not going to look at Ivar or Eric. I don't even fucking know. I'm not going to look at any of the Viking Raiders. Seriously, again after this. Ivar's a big dude. He should not be manhandled by Bobby Lashley that easily. And then I'm supposed to believe him going into an actual wrestling match and throwing somebody around? Same thing with Eric. Eric got jobbed out by Dolph Ziggler in Raw Underground. Sleeper hold, tap out. They stopped the match. Dolph Ziggler or something like that. Dolph Ziggler, I think, lost something along those lines. The point I'm trying to make is you can't put somebody in a worked shoot fight and then have them go out there and pretend like this type of situation is not happening. Seriously. Dolph Ziggler, Eric, Ivar, and everybody else in this thing, when they got to go back in the ring to do the pro wrestling thing, and they're beating up somebody that's a lot bigger, how ridiculous is that going to look? It's fucking stupid. I don't really understand the appeal of Raw Underground. Shane McMahon was pissed. Shane McMahon was pissed. He was unhappy about the Raw Underground segments being cut out. Sportskeeda reported this, and I quote, "Raw Underground is all pre-taped. That suffered major cuts. Shane McMahon really wasn't happy about that, but he's at the mercy of the editors at the moment because when he comes to do these things, you look at it, for example, the Lana and Natalya versus Mickie James segment. Mickie James has been rewritten every week since she's returned, and she's gotten less and less of a role each time." That's what they say. They went on to say Shane McMahon believed, though Raw Underground was going to be protected, even though Shane McMahon was supposedly unhappy. Sportskeeda added that McMahon was also understanding of the situation. But how many times more is this going to happen in the weeks leading up to another pay-per-view and going on into the rest of the year? If Vince McMahon is so quick to cut out Raw Underground, even though it's a thing of Shane McMahon, an idea of Shane McMahon, if he's so quick to cut out Raw Underground, how quick is it going to happen the next week, and the next week, and the next week? And if the ratings continue to slightly go up for Monday Night Raw, and they're in the Thunderdome, and people are genuinely just more interested in the product, they might not need Raw Underground anymore. It was legitimately an idea that didn't make any sense, that was thrown at the wall to generate interest, and it hasn't generated any interest. Raw Underground has not changed the dynamic of Raw. It has not changed the interest level in Monday Night Raw. So why is it a thing? Why is it a thing? Everybody that's on this show, find a way to get them into the actual Monday Night Raw wrestling show. And if you can't find a role for them, keep them off TV until you have something a little bit more substantial for them to do. Come on. Shane might have been unhappy, but he understands the situation. Sure he does. Vince McMahon doesn't want to understand any situation. Vince is going to do what Vince is going to do. There was a major update. I talked about this last weekend, about Shane McMahon possibly taking over for Bruce Pritchard. This has been debunked by Bodyslam.net. They have received word from somebody incredibly close to the situation backstage in WWE. There is absolutely no truth to the rumor at all that Shane McMahon is stepping in for Bruce Pritchard. They say, and I quote, "We reached out to our sources about this report, and were told flat out by somebody close to the situation that there is no truth to the report of Bruce backing away from Raw and Shane taking over," end quote. I don't see how that would have worked anyway. I mean, Shane, yes, he's Vince's son, but I remember a report, and I mentioned this on the day I recorded that show. I even said this. Vince has his grandchildren watching the show. They critique some of the things that they like and they don't like, and Vince doesn't even listen to his fucking grandchildren. He's going to listen to Shane McMahon? Now, the only way that I would accept Shane McMahon running Monday Night Raw is if Shane McMahon was legitimately running Monday Night Raw and he had no outward source or outwardly sources in this situation. He had no outward fucking influence from Vince McMahon. Nothing. I don't want Vince McMahon coming in here ruining anything. I don't want Vince McMahon whispering in his ear about what he has to do. If he's the executive director, he's the executive director, and he listens to nobody but himself. This would never work if Shane is just stepping in for Bruce because Vince is always going to be running the show. How much of Shane's ideas would have actually been used? Probably nothing. More so than many, but probably nothing. It's Vince's show. It will always be Vince's show. And until Vince is gone, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown will never change. Never change. So no matter if it's Bruce, if it's Paul, if it's Eric Bischoff, if it's fucking SpongeBob, if it's fucking Kirby, Mega Man, Metal Gear Solid, Ganon, Link, Zelda, it doesn't matter. It could be a combination of fucking Toad, Luigi, Mario, Princess, and Bowser running fucking Monday Night Raw. It doesn't matter. Vince McMahon is always in charge. For all I know, Vince McMahon is fucking in charge of the fucking Mushroom Kingdom. Doesn't matter if it's Shane McMahon. The only way it would have worked is if Vince was gone completely, and you know that's not going to happen. Drew McIntyre. He actually explained why he's a fan of Raw Underground. Now, I don't know anybody personally that's a fan of Raw Underground, but Drew McIntyre is a fan of Raw Underground. He explained this in an interview with Fansided, and I quote, "Yeah, I like Raw Underground. I like it a lot." McIntyre said before continuing to note how excited he was when he first saw Shane McMahon was in charge of it. He noted this is McMahon's type of environment, and he's been able to spend time with Shane to get to know him and learn from him a little bit this year. It's different. Like, as I mentioned, we're trying things, we're doing things and throwing things against the wall, seeing what sticks, because that always is the model perception of somebody that has plans. If the management is of this mentality, and then you see somebody like Drew McIntyre as the WWE champion, it's different. As I mentioned, we're trying new things, and we're doing different things, and we're throwing shit against the wall and seeing if it sticks. This is the mentality that management has kind of just instilled on their active roster. So if management thinks it's the right way, then the roster's going to think it's the right way. This is why people have said that the leadership in WWE is fucking garbage. There's no true leadership in WWE. It's all over the place. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. And clearly, when it comes down to the roster, they don't know what the fuck they're saying. I think because of the nature of the Performance Center, you want to move around different environments and keep it exciting and keep the show flowing. And I feel like that really lends itself to that, where we've got one segment in the ring, and then suddenly we're to the Raw Underground segment, which is gritty, underground, this feel of more hard-hitting Fight Club style atmosphere, and really giving you something different. I think that's the key. This is just a 3-hour show and just keeps getting interesting, keeping it different throughout, keeping the flow going. I think Raw Underground is perfect for that, and I'm excited to see if you guys get some opportunities to show what they can do from their fighting backgrounds. End quote. This thing's been around for, 4 weeks now? And nobody legitimately has gotten over. WWE had that first Raw Underground segment where it looked like the Hurt Business was going to take over Raw Underground, and then they really didn't do anything the next week. They didn't do anything the next week. They didn't do anything the week after that. So it's already lost its appeal. It's already lost that fucking new, fresh car smell in about 4 weeks. Just like I said. As soon as you get used to it, as soon as it kind of just molds itself into the rest of the show, it just becomes ordinary like the rest of the show. But this was never a concept that was going to work. Drew McIntyre is only saying that because he's the model spokesman for the WWE. He's the WWE champion. What do you expect him to say? It sucks? No, he'll save that for the Jericho podcast when he's leaving WWE. Not that I'm saying he's leaving the WWE, but that is something that everybody does anyway. When they leave WWE disgruntled, they go on talk as Jericho and just bury the company. Who knows? I'm not a fan of it. I will never be a fan of it. If I want to watch MMA, I'll go watch MMA. If I want to watch fucking shit WWE, just give me the remote and let me get USA Network on the TV. Aleister Black. How they fucked up Aleister Black, I don't know. But he turned heel on Monday night against Kevin Owens. Aleister Black and Kevin Owens are now in a rivalry. Oh, great. This is a departure from the previous direction of Black hunting Rollins and Murphy, who actually caused his injury. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained WWE's logic for this booking decision. And I quote, Kevin needs an opponent because originally he was supposed to face Seth, but Rey resigned, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Rey resigned with the company, So now Owens has an opponent, so it is what it is. It is what it is, folks. That's why Aleister Black turned heel. It is what it is. Now, Kevin Owens and Aleister Black will likely feud. Whether this happens at Payback on Sunday, I don't know. Their match wasn't booked for Payback as far as I'm concerned, but the company still has plenty of time to make that match official on social media. Ringside News exclusively reported that WWE was gearing up for another feud for Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, which I wouldn't find any interest in because I watched that WWE 24 documentary on the WrestleMania inside the Performance Center. After watching that, there's no reason why Rollins and Owens need to fight again. That was a beautiful conclusion to what they had going on. I don't need to see it again. Just shows how uncreative WWE is. That was one of their options for SummerSlam. I'd much rather have watched Dominic at SummerSlam, which is what we got, and Dominic excelled. Now, they kept it as an alternative in case Mysterio didn't sign a new deal. He signed the new deal. Dominic Mysterio got his SummerSlam debut. They had a great match against Rollins. And we're off to the running now for them to get their payback on Sunday. Rey Mysterio did re-sign with the WWE, and this will reportedly be for another 3 years. WWE did have plans just in case Mysterio didn't agree to the new deal, like I mentioned, but now it appears they are carrying on with Rey and Rollins as part of their ongoing feud. So that is that. Aleister Black. I don't know how you could take this guy and fuck him up. This guy was brilliant in NXT, and I honestly feel like WWE has wasted 2 years of this guy's life. He's 35 years old, and the most important thing that this guy has done is come out on the Kevin Owens show and wear a bandage around his eye, pretending to be a cosplay of fucking Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. That's exactly what he looked like to me. I'm waiting for fucking Big Boss to come on out. Seriously. I'm waiting for Liquid Snake to come out somewhere and fucking cause Judgment Day. Give me a break. Aleister Black against Kevin Owens. It's an interesting concept, but I really can't get behind it because I don't know where Aleister Black fits into all this. Is he going to get retribution against Seth Rollins? Is that the natural progression? Because other than that, from what we've seen on Monday, it looks like WWE has dropped Aleister Black and Seth Rollins, being that Mysterio was signed. Are they going to go back to it? Are they going to tie up loose ends? Probably not. Knowing this writing team, probably not. Or is Aleister Black going to join Seth Rollins? Could Aleister Black lead the greater good? Because there is a report that WWE may be giving Seth Rollins time away. Now, it's not going to happen immediately, but as we get closer to the holiday season, Rollins is going bye-bye. And I think you know why. There's a rumor going around that Seth will be taking some time off from the WWE. This won't happen immediately, obviously. And it's because Becky Lynch is having her baby in December. It is rumored to be in the plans. The story of Rollins taking a break started swirling around over the weekend, going into Payback. Now, Ringside News has reached out to sources, but have yet to confirm that this is 100% going to happen. It's told to Ringside News that it's possible, but nothing is definite. As of this writing, the rumors that Rollins will be taking some time off around Survivor Series or prior to the build of WWE's November Big Four pay-per-view. Now, they were told that Rollins is respected for his hard work backstage, and nobody would blame him at all for asking for time off. I mean, at this point, I don't think anybody, like the source says here, would blame Rollins for taking the time off. In fact, WWE is probably going to come to him and tell him to go the fuck home. Seriously. So that's the rumor there. Now, what happens to the greater good? He's going to be off for how long? Probably December, going on into January, probably come back at the Royal Rumble. That's a long time. That leaves Buddy Murphy without anything to do. What if Rollins and Black feud and Black takes over for the greater good? Or if Black joins Rollins in the greater good, Rollins goes away and he leads the greater good. Leads Buddy Murphy. Nobody knows Murphy better than Black or more than Black, being that they've been up and down for the last year or so on Monday Night Raw in the ring. Great matches between the two. Maybe Rollins comes back as a babyface. Who the fuck knows? I don't see how he's going to have a fucking kid and then come back as a heel. Especially with Becky, right? Everybody's going to be all over them. What's the baby look like? What's the baby's name? Can I see pictures? Yada, yada, yada. This guy's going to come back as a fucking heel? He may come back as a babyface. Black may take over for Rollins in the greater good, and we have babyface Rollins versus heel Black. A heel Black definitely sounds interesting, but I just can't understand how WWE has dropped the ball on this guy when he was a solid, cannot fucking miss guy coming up from NXT. I really don't get it. Even Drew McIntyre had praise for Aleister Black. He was interviewed by Newsweek and said this about Aleister Black. There's a few people that have stepped up and continue to step up, and there's more to come. I know there's more to come from Aleister Black for sure. I'm just waiting for that big moment. He knows his character as well as I know mine. He knows what he's going for, and it's really cool. And I guess it's just doing the right way to connect the right way because he's got all the tools. Once you put the pieces to the jigsaw puzzle in the right place is when someone gets on a roll. I think Aleister Black is finally going to put that jigsaw puzzle together, and he's going to be on the run of a lifetime. Is that a tease for a possible babyface Drew McIntyre versus a heel Aleister Black for the WWE Championship? I don't know. I don't think Drew McIntyre leaves the next pay-per-view, whatever's next, Night of Champions, Clash of Champions, whatever the fuck they're calling it. I don't think he leaves that pay-per-view with the WWE Championship. I think they give it to Randy Orton. That's just my opinion. Unless they do a storyline with Drew McIntyre now with all the fucking punt kicks and the RKO that he took. Maybe they have him drop the title, strip him of the title. And Randy Orton is the WWE champion by other ways and other means. And Drew McIntyre is stripped of the championship after what Orton did to him, so they keep him looking strong. I don't know. I don't really know. But Drew McIntyre said that Aleister Black, he needs the pieces of the puzzle to fit in the right place at the right time. He could be on a run of a lifetime. Could be. It should have been a run that he was already currently on, coming out of NXT. WWE, as always, a creative blunder with Aleister Black. I don't see how you could pull him up from NXT and fuck him up and waste him for 2 years. 2 years wasted on the main roster. WWE, speaking of WrestleMania, speaking of Randy Orton, speaking of Drew McIntyre, speaking of Edge, who's still feuding with Randy Orton even though he's off TV. WWE has potentially changed the WrestleMania 37 main event as of this weekend. I don't even think there's a WrestleMania 37 main event planned. These people can't even book Monday Night Raw correctly on a week-to-week basis. They don't even know what the fuck is going on Sunday, tomorrow, at Payback. You worry about WrestleMania 37? We don't even know where WrestleMania 37 is going to be. Meltzer talked about this. And he said the last word is that there is no longer a clear main event direction for Mania. WrestlingNews.co reported that there was talk of Orton winning the WWE Championship from Drew McIntyre, and then he would go on to lose it to Edge at either the Royal Rumble or more likely at WrestleMania. Dave Meltzer noted in The Observer that Orton winning the WWE title is not a lock, but it's something right now that is still currently under discussion. Now, they went on to say that as of last week, a WWE source noted that Vince McMahon did not have the finish locked in for Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton at SummerSlam until late in the week, and there was still a chance that Orton could have walked out of that show with the title, but they opted to go with a clean finish on a fucking roll-up that you'd never see coming. They were also told that the current plan is for McIntyre to return sometime after Payback to set up a rematch with Orton at Clash of Champions on September 27th. And that is that. I always said I wouldn't be for it because I think he doesn't deserve the shaft. But I was always for Randy Orton winning the WWE title at SummerSlam. I always thought that made sense. And looking back at it now, especially with what played out on Monday night, it should have been a situation where Randy Orton walked out of the SummerSlam show with the WWE Championship. Simple. Absolutely simple. Looking at what happened on Monday Night Raw, the way that they went about it, they gave Randy Orton a pity championship rematch because he's a loser. So they had Drew McIntyre come out there and gloat Randy Orton into another rematch, giving this guy another rematch for the WWE Championship after you beat him clean doesn't make you a smart champion. It makes you a dumb champion. You may be a fighting champion, but you look like a dumb champion in the end. You beat him. Why do you want him in the ring again? You should be moving on to somebody else. So Randy Orton got a championship rematch, supposedly out of pity. Randy Orton didn't accept the pity championship rematch. He ended up booting Drew McIntyre in the head 3 times on Monday Night Raw, which is another situation in its own right because one punt kick should level somebody instantly. Drew McIntyre took 2 and then came out to seek revenge on Randy Orton, only to get another one. And then that one sent him to the fucking hospital. They should have booked Randy Orton to win the WWE title at SummerSlam and then go and do something in regards to Drew McIntyre being out. Drew McIntyre seeking revenge. Drew McIntyre getting punt kicked. Once, twice, 3 times, whatever. Take him to the fucking hospital. Cue Keith Lee. Have whatever happen on Monday night lead to a Keith Lee Randy Orton match. Have Drew McIntyre come out and fuck that match up. Yeah, Keith Lee would take the loss, but at least he's not pinned. Now you're going into Payback against all odds. You booked yourself in a difficult situation. You got Randy Orton and Keith Lee. Who wins? Who loses? Drew McIntyre's going to come to Payback after what he did to Drew McIntyre on Monday Night Raw? Drew McIntyre's going to show up at Payback? How? Why? Drew McIntyre should be in the fucking hospital for weeks after what he did. After what Orton did. So either one of 2 things happens. Either A, one of 3 things happens. Randy Orton loses, which I don't see him losing 2 pay-per-views in a row. Keith Lee loses. He already lost on Monday. You're going to make him lose clean to Randy Orton? Or 3, Drew McIntyre shows up at Payback against all odds, which would look fucking stupid, and he would interfere in that match, getting his revenge or payback on Randy Orton. And if that happens, then you kind of got to put the punt kick into retirement. Because if the guy took 3 punt kicks and then is said to have career-ending injuries due to the punt kick, only to show up on Sunday, that doesn't really make any sense now. You might as well retire the punt kick for good. It was once retired, put it back into the fucking retirement bin. Give me a break. Randy Orton versus Edge is a solid main event for WrestleMania. It would continue their story. It would give Edge a feel-good moment. I'm not saying Edge has to win the title and go on a fucking 6-month title reign. Edge could lose it the next night. Edge could lose it at the next pay-per-view. He doesn't need a long championship run, but it would be a great cap on the Randy Orton feud. Then you could introduce a new guy. You could introduce a new heel. Maybe Seth Rollins at that point could take the championship off of Edge. That was a match that's been teased by both guys. Rollins wants Edge. Edge wants to work with Rollins. Maybe Adam Cole's brought up. Maybe he gets in there and takes the title from Edge, like I had predicted. Any one of those types of guys would work in that situation. But what they did on Monday night didn't make any sense whatsoever going into Sunday. It did. They could have spared all of us and spared Keith Lee by giving Randy Orton the WWE title at SummerSlam. And they did. So no matter what the WrestleMania main event is, I don't think WWE has anything planned at all. They don't have anything planned then. They don't have anything planned now. They're not going to have anything planned until fucking March. So give me a break. WWE planning something? Give me a break. Vince McMahon was super impressed with Dominic Mysterio at SummerSlam. Ringside News has learned that Vince McMahon was super impressed with Dominic Mysterio. The sentiment extended past the chairman's opinion, too. It was told to Ringside News by a member of the creative writing team close to the situation that everyone was impressed with Dominic's performance. this is a very good sign for him as he just got started in WWE. The extent of Dominic's contract has not been revealed. Like I mentioned, Rey Mysterio has been signed for 3 years with the WWE. And that came after reports earlier in the month that Rey Mysterio could be inking a new deal with AEW. Although Mysterio did stay with the WWE, like I said, he did get an offer that was matched by Tony Khan and AEW. So Mysterio had been kept off programming since he lost the eye for an eye match. He ended up signing anyway. They kept him off TV because they didn't know if he was going to sign or not. He made his return on Monday. And then Sunday, obviously, SummerSlam weekend. And he was in the corner of Dominic at SummerSlam. He was in the tag team match with Dominic on Raw. And more than likely, it's not confirmed, but we're getting a tag team rematch from Monday Night Raw Sunday at Payback, which I'm assuming the babyfaces are going to go on to win. But that was it. And Dominic has been very impressive. People in WWE are very impressed by Dominic. And there could be plans for him to adopt a Prince Mysterio name. Rey Mysterio copyrighted that name, and it appears that it could also lead to Dominic's new merchandise in the coming weeks. So much so that he impressed so many people in SummerSlam that the next direction for Dominic only looks to be a promising one, says the source to Ringside News. So that's that. And I was impressed with what happened at SummerSlam. And a lot of people are like, well, Dominic should have went to NXT. I don't think so. I don't think Dominic should have went to NXT. Dominic, his father's on Monday Night Raw, so why would you put him in NXT? Some people don't necessarily need to go to NXT. I don't think Dominic is going to fare well in NXT without Rey Mysterio being there. The fact that Dominic is working with his father is actively going to make him better in every sense of the word. And the fact that he was in the ring with Rollins and he had such a great match right out of the gate with Rollins, it's only going to aid him for the better. So we'll see what happens. And being that Rey signed, the next 3 years for Dominic, you're only going to see growth. So I don't mind what they're doing with Dominic. I just wish that they actually gave this type of attention and creative to people who actually have been there for quite some time and are just absolutely dying for an opportunity. I understand he's the son of Rey Mysterio, but Jesus Christ, you got guys on that roster who are dying for an opportunity that have not gotten an opportunity yet. And Rey Mysterio's son comes on here and he's partially in the fucking main event of the show. Come on. Those are the shit decisions that I look at and I'm like, man, come on. You got to do better than that. So everybody was super impressed. And that's what it is with Dominic Mysterio. SmackDown. The Thunderdome increased SmackDown's viewership for week 1. So they drew an average of 2.168 million viewers on the opening night of the Thunderdome, which was to be expected. I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. I told everybody on that Friday show how I really had a major critique about the Thunderdome. And I said to myself, and I said to everybody watching me in that live stream, because it was a big one, this is not the rating you need to look at. It's the weeks following that are going to be more important. And that's exactly what we're looking at. Going into the second week of the Thunderdome, which included the follow-up to SummerSlam and Roman Reigns being back on Fox. Clearly, they were going to do a little bit better than they did in week 1. And Roman Reigns is that reason. The episode was up from a 2.168 million viewership to a 2.181 million viewership. And good. I'm happy. You want to know why I'm happy about that? Because my SmackDown review is nearing 40,000 views already. So I love it. So please, continue generating bigger ratings. The bigger the rating, the more money I make. The bigger the rating, the more people watch everybody in the community. I never want the WWE to fail. They need to get on a win streak. The show still sucks. SmackDown was fucking awful last night. But as long as there's interest in something on the show, I think we'll all be better off for it. So that was the rating for SmackDown. And it's going to be something we're going to continue to watch. Week 3, week 4, week 5. How we see it all level out. People could watch the show and say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not watching anymore. I got the gist of this Thunderdome gimmick. It's not really for me. The rating could go down. But it's going to fluctuate no matter what. It's going to be up. It's going to be down. It's going to be sideways, left and right. North, east, south, west. It doesn't matter. So it's going to be week 3, week 4, week 5. After the end of 2 months, and we start to see consistent levels of rating, that's when we can say, you know what, this is where SmackDown's going to level out. And then you can properly gauge, well, the show really isn't performing well in the ratings. The show is performing well in the ratings. You can't gauge anything off of 1 week, 2 weeks. You got to get some ratings under your belt to really make a conclusion as far as how well SmackDown is performing. But the show last night was terrible. It was awful. Outside the 15 seconds for Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, the show was absolutely a fucking bore. WWE Creative, listen to this one. WWE Creative changed original plans for Sonya Deville versus Mandy Rose at SummerSlam because Sonya Deville said they didn't make any sense. Now, this is coming from Ringside News, and they had an exclusive up on the website today. And WWE wanted to book a finish for SummerSlam that would have seen Sonya Deville defeat Mandy Rose at SummerSlam. Now, that's not what we got. We got Mandy Rose beating Sonya Deville and Sonya Deville losing and leaving the WWE. Ringside News was told by a member of the writing team close to this situation that WWE wanted to book Sonya Deville to defeat Mandy Rose in the Loser Leaves Town match. Now, why would that have made any sense at all? Sonya Deville has to go to court for what had happened to her, not Mandy Rose. So she has a reason for being off TV, and you're going to have her win the match and then keep Mandy off of TV for what? So, Sonya Deville went to the creative team and said, and argued, this doesn't make any sense. Why do you think this makes sense? I need to lose this match for obvious reasons. So plans were changed because Sonya Deville said this doesn't make any sense. It was additionally told to us that plans in the WWE do not last in this environment. Deville ended up losing, and now we are waiting to see when she returns to the WWE because she's not going anywhere. She's taking time off to deal with personal problems. She will be back. After the loss at SummerSlam, she was interviewed in a .com exclusive where some geek reporter went up to her and said, how do you feel about losing? Sonya, how do you feel about losing to Mandy, Loser Leaves Town? And she screamed at the guy saying, never call me that name ever again. Meaning we could see a gimmick change for Sonya Deville when she comes back. Meaning we could see Daria Baronato and not Sonya Deville return to the WWE. So it's very interesting. I find it how WWE Creative was going with Mandy and then Sonya, another performer, saying, hey, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Why are we doing this? I can't be here. Why am I going to win when I got to be out? She's going to be here. She needs to stay and win. Unreal. Unreal. Sometimes I wish they let the roster actually have some creative control. Really. Not all, but some. Listen to their ideas and take ideas from the talent and incorporate it into making better creative. There was a story coming out after WrestleMania that Becky Lynch told management she wanted to put over Shayna Baszler. She said, this doesn't make sense. For me to win here, it doesn't make any sense after what we've done on TV with both Shayna and I. WWE didn't listen to Becky. They had Becky win, ultimately ruining Shayna Baszler not once, not twice, 3 fucking times. Shayna Baszler was buried at that point. Nobody's going to look at Shayna Baszler in a serious way after that. Becky said, I need to drop this title to Shayna Baszler. Not only because it makes sense, but because I'm going to be out anyway. Let me drop the fucking title. They said no. It's amazing how the roster knows better than the people actually writing this show. It's unbelievable. I know better. You know better. The roster knows better. Everybody knows better but the writing staff and Vince and Bruce. SmackDown's looking for a new lead writer. I'm not surprised, being that they wanted fucking Mandy Rose to defeat Sonya Deville. But they're looking for a new lead writer. And don't tell me to sign up for the position. You couldn't pay me all the money in the world to take that fucking position. Ringside News has learned that SmackDown needs a new lead writer. And this job posting is a mystery to those backstage, even in the writer's room. Now, they've heard from a longtime writer with close knowledge to the situation that those of us on the team think it's more of an operations lead writer than a creative lead writer. End quote. The creative side of things is supposed to be Ed Koskey. It was told to us here at Ringside News that Ryan Callahan is not exactly the operations guy, as he is more creative instead. Maybe you should look at Ed Koskey and Ryan Callahan and everybody else involved with this fucking shit. Get them out of there, because the shows fucking suck. Not like they're needed anyway, because they write, Vince rips up, Vince changes, and their work goes unnoticed. It could work on both sides of the situation. First of all, I'd like to see these guys removed because they are actively there every single fucking week, and what they are doing is nothing more than appeasing Vince McMahon. They're writing for Vince McMahon. Vince comes in and changes what he wants to on any given day because that's what he does. But on the other hand, are these guys writing to appease Vince McMahon, or are these guys overseeing 40 other writers and these ideas coming from these 40 other writers? How good are those ideas? How good is the writing for these shows, and how much of these ideas would be much better off than what we actually see on the show? That's what I want to know. How many of these ideas actually make it to Vince McMahon and he says, fuck no, I'm going to rewrite the show because I don't like it? What is there not to like? What is it that is written as far as creative from these other people? That's what I would love to know. WWE did not disclose the details of the open SmackDown head writer position in this LinkedIn job posting that was found. The full description was noted as on file. It's unclear what job responsibilities there will be. The reaction backstage was one of surprise, to say the least. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they're not really looking for a new lead writer, and it was some fucking mistake. Usually WWE, sometimes the right hand doesn't know what the hell the left hand is doing. I don't know. They need one creative writer. They need to remove everybody there and replace the whole fucking team, just not one head writer. NXT. NXT sees big viewership without AEW competition. The show was up in total viewers in the 18 to 49 demographic from the week prior. They drew 853,000 live viewers, which was up from 619,000 the last week. This was the most watched episode of NXT this year. NXT was ranked number 23 in the top 150 shows on cable, which was up number 65 from last week. It also did a 0.24 in the 18 to 49 demographic, and that was also up from the previous week at 0.16. This marked the first time that NXT this year didn't have competition from AEW Dynamite. The show on Wednesday, Dynamite, was moved to Saturday on TNT due to the NBA playoffs. However, NXT faces its own preemption next week, and then the week after that. So I will get into that in a second. AEW Dynamite on Thursday, Saturday night. Actually, Saturday night they drew a great viewership. Saturday night they did almost 760,000, I believe, in the viewership. So that was great for Saturday night because people are watching other sports, people are out. It's the summertime, nobody's really home watching pro wrestling. So that's great. That was really great. And they were going up against NXT TakeOver as well. So that was fucking awesome. Goes to show you the fan base of AEW, man. No matter what day, no matter what time slot, no matter what WWE's doing, they have a dedicated fan base that's going to follow them to wherever they are on. Now, Thursday, the 827 show, they had an increase in viewership. They did 813,000 live viewers. That was up from 755,000 viewers for the Saturday, August 22nd show where Brody Lee won the TNT Championship. In the 18 to 49 demographic, the show did a 0.29, which is just a little bit down from the 0.31 on Saturday's show. AEW officials should be happy with these numbers overall, considering that the show aired on a different night for a second straight week. A lot of people in the community said AEW is going to lose momentum and that this could be a bad sign for AEW. They seem to be holding very steady, and this rating is very strong. for Thursday night, which is not their normal time slot. As noted, TNT had to air the show on Thursday instead of its traditional Wednesday broadcast due to the coverage of the NBA playoffs, and those games were canceled out of protest because of the shooting of Jacob Blake. AEW ranked number 11 among the top 150 shows on cable, and that was it for AEW. I thought the Saturday show was great. I thought the Thursday show was all right, and I said it on my live stream on Thursday. I said the main programs on Dynamite are really hitting a home run. They're really, really good. Moxley, MJF, the Elite kicking out Paige, Brody Lee, that type of stuff. Then you got Thunder Rosa versus Hikaru Shida for the Women's Championship. A lot of good stuff. The other stuff on Dynamite really didn't interest me. But they got such a solid card for All Out, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for that next Saturday. But the shows have been good. And even though Thursday's show was kind of iffy, I think they're going to really load it up for the next week's show on Wednesday. It'll be Wednesday in their normal time slot. I think they're really going to go out with a bang for the All Out Go Home show. Now, NXT is going to air on Tuesday. There's 2 matches planned for the show. It's going to be a 60-minute Iron Man Fatal 4-Way match. I don't remember the last time I've ever seen a 60-minute Iron Man Fatal 4-Way match in the WWE, but here we are. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Finn Balor, and Adam Cole, baby. I'm going with Finn Balor to win that one. I think right now is the right time to give it to Balor. And being that Cross was injured in the same way that Balor was injured, it would kind of just have everything come full circle for Finn Balor. Adam Cole's about to get called up. Undisputed Era really isn't factoring into anything. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano have been there. You don't want to go back to the well too many times with those guys. Finn Balor's the winner, in my eyes. I think Finn Balor would be a great NXT champion to fill in for the injured Karrion Kross. They're airing on Tuesday. And Sci-Fi Network is going to air encore showings of NXT against Dynamite the next 2 weeks. Now, due to the NFL playoff coverage, the next 2 weeks, NXT will be moved to Tuesday night at 8 p.m. However, fans who still want to watch the show in its regular time slot on Wednesday night can do so by tuning into the Sci-Fi Network, one of the networks that falls under the NBC Universal umbrella. So if you're watching the NXT show on Tuesday and you miss it, and you want to watch it on Wednesday against Dynamite, you can watch NXT on Wednesday on Sci-Fi while TNT is airing Dynamite. I don't really understand that. You just can't leave it alone. You can't leave it alone. Now, every single time when it's blatantly obvious what WWE is doing, they always one-up themselves. Why is this necessary? Are you so fucking worried about AEW that you gotta air a fucking rerun from Tuesday night on Wednesday night just so that it airs in the same time slot to take away from AEW on TNT? Folks, the AEW effect is fucking real. It is so disgustingly real. This is absolutely unnecessary. You might be thinking, well, this is business. But I look at it as, why? Did AEW air reruns on fucking another channel? Another Time Warner fucking channel to go against NXT? Give me a break. Give me a fucking break. Yeah, they aired All Out, but it was on YouTube. It was on YouTube. And they didn't generate half of what NXT did as far as viewership goes. And that's on demand. You can watch it anytime. If you missed it on Wednesday, you go back and watch it on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever. Give me a break. Sci-Fi is going to be airing NXT the next 2 weeks to combat AEW. But has WWE made mention of that? I don't know. Unless they make mention of it on USA, which I'm assuming they will come Tuesday. What difference does it make? What difference does it make? You better say something, otherwise people are not going to know. Why do I know? Why do I know and everybody else doesn't know? The big story coming out of NXT was Karrion Kross. He was injured, and the injury is worse than initially reported. Meltzer noted in The Observer that the injury is worse than originally thought, and he may need surgery If it wasn't a serious injury that he could rehab, WWE wouldn't have stripped him of the title. He says, and I quote, it sounds, William Regal later in the show even brought up that he's going to be gone for a long time. He had an MRI on Monday, so it sounds like he's going to need surgery. It sounds like he's going to be out for a while. If it was something that didn't need surgery, they wouldn't have stripped him of the title because they love him and love him as champion. He's their chosen one. If it was like 2 months, they could work around it. They didn't give any kind of time frame because it doesn't sound good the way that everybody was talking on the show. End quote. Cross, he sounded great in his promo. He sounded strong in his promo by giving up the title. You all know how I feel about this. I feel like WWE, karma comes back around. They did what they did. All the creative booking, all the fucking hot shot booking, all the last minute booking, all the counter programming reared its ugly head. It really did. And this is where you landed. If you want my thoughts on that, you could go back and watch my NXT review from Wednesday when Jesse and I talked about it. We talked about it in detail, every ounce of it, on why WWE has only them to blame for this situation, themselves to blame. Cross is not coming back to NXT. He's not. When Cross comes back, he will either be in the Royal Rumble or he will be on Raw or SmackDown. He's not showing back up to NXT. He won the NXT championship. That's it. At 35 years old, 36 years old, you're not putting someone like that back down in NXT. The window is shrinking on someone like that. You move him to the main roster. He should have been on the main roster from the get-go. You don't bring him back down to NXT to have him win the NXT title for a second time. By that time, things will be changed. Things will be different. You saved him for Keith Lee. That was it. There's going to be nobody on that roster that is going to look believable in beating Karrion Kross. Nobody. Not a Priest, not a Bronson Reed, not a Johnny Gargano, not a Tommaso Ciampa, and not anybody. Dexter Lumis, Velveteen Dream. None of those guys. So why would you even bother putting him back down there? Main roster. Main roster is where he'll be when he makes his return to the WWE. I feel bad for him. They put so much effort into him, and now he's out for 8 months. How long did Balor take to recover? 7, 8 months? He'll be back in the same time frame as Finn Balor for the same injury. Karrion Kross, the injury is worse than initially reported, and like I said on my NXT review on Wednesday, he's going to Raw or SmackDown. Maybe he makes a quicker recovery, shows up in the Royal Rumble. I think that would make things a little bit interesting. But he's not going back down to NXT. Guys, that is it. That is all I got for you. That was Off the Script live for episode 341. And I appreciate all of you. I'm getting out of here, man. I really am. Shout out to Daniel Easterday, Pedro W, JP5150, Kairos Objective, Red Fox 44, Mr. Cake, CC Steven, Clash with Spreecies, D-Style Boxing, Burning Fortress, Riddick, Noodles the Goat, Ricardo Linnell, Mr. Cake, again, Noodles, Arby065, Myjin, Adam Hernandez with a $20 bomb, Deliver for Amazon, listening to you makes the hours fly by. Your intro for Doom Eternal is my favorite. Always enjoy the channel. Thank you for your hard work. David Indigo, thank you so much for the super chats, my friends. I am getting out of here, man. It's 9:30 Eastern time. Off the Script was live for the first time in a long time. The actual Off the Script podcast. Covering you guys for everything going into the Payback pay-per-view on Sunday. Guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up. We are close to 1,000. And I will be back tomorrow night live. Hopefully you guys help me make this show the #1 show in the IWC for Payback. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Follow me on Twitter at JD from NY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Go get your merchandise, your masks, your t-shirts, mouthmasker.com/OTS, bonfire.com for your JD's Negan t-shirts. Make sure you guys check out Patreon, patreon.com/JD from NY206, and harrys.com/script. If you missed any of the content on the channel, make sure you guys go and check the links down below in the description. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow for Payback. Make sure you follow me on social media, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Bray Wyatt. Payback Sunday night. Thank you guys so much.